Most people think lowering cortisol at night is about relaxing harder. It isn't. Your brain doesn't respond to effort. It responds to patterns. And after 9 p.m., a very specific transition is supposed to begin. Not sleep, not yet. A recalibration. From prediction mode to permission mode. During the day, your brain is optimized for anticipation. What's next? What's urgent? What might go wrong? Cortisol supports that state. It keeps your system slightly elevated, slightly forward-leaning, always preparing. But after 9 p.m., that strategy becomes inefficient. So the brain shifts its priority from preparing to deciding whether it's safe to stop preparing. And that decision is everything. Because your brain does not shut down on command. It shuts down when uncertainty drops below a certain threshold. If anything still feels unresolved, mentally, physically, or emotionally, cortisol stays active. Quietly, subtly, but enough to keep your mind online. This is why people feel exhausted, but unable to switch off. The body is ready for sleep. The brain is still negotiating safety. So the advanced approach is not calm yourself. It's remove the reasons your brain thinks it shouldn't. And those reasons fall into 3 specific categories: cognitive load, sensory volatility, emotional ambiguity. If any one of these remains open, your system delays shutdown. Not out of dysfunction, but out of protection. Start with cognitive load. Your brain is a pattern completion machine. Open loops are not just thoughts. They are active processes. Unfinished tasks, unmade decisions, unresolved plans. Each one holds a small amount of tension. Not enough to stress you consciously, but enough to prevent full disengagement. So instead of trying to suppress thinking, you complete the pattern externally. Write it down, not to reflect, to close. What's pending? What matters tomorrow? What you don't want to forget? This converts active loops into stored information. And when the brain trusts that something is stored, it stops rehearsing it. That's the shift. From holding to releasing. Next, sensory volatility. At night, your nervous system doesn't just prefer calm. It becomes calibrated for detection, which means inconsistency becomes the problem. Not stimulation itself, but unpredictable stimulation, sharp light and darkness, rapid visual changes, irregular sound patterns, sudden brightness shifts. These don't feel intense, they feel unstable. And instability keeps the brain in monitoring mode. So the goal is not silence, it's continuity. Stable lighting, gradual transitions, soft visual fields, predictable sensory rhythm. You're not reducing input. You're removing surprises. Because the brain relaxes fastest in environments it can predict. Finally, emotional ambiguity. This is the deepest layer. Your brain is constantly interpreting your internal state. And if something feels undefined, it flags it as incomplete. Not dangerous, just unresolved. And unresolved signals keep a low-grade alertness running. So instead of trying to fix how you feel, you make it legible. You name it. Clearly, briefly. Pressure, anticipation, mental fatigue, residual stress. The moment an emotion is labeled, the brain shifts it from active signal to categorized experience. And categorized experiences don't need continuous monitoring. That's why clarity reduces intensity. Not because the feeling disappears, but because it no longer needs attention. Now, everything starts to converge. When cognitive loops are closed, sensory input is stabilized, and emotions are defined, your brain loses its reasons to stay alert. So it stops scanning, gradually, systematically, without force. And that's when the transition happens. Not into sleep, but into disengagement. The state where sleep becomes possible. This is why some nights feel effortless. Nothing special happened. You just didn't interrupt the shutdown sequence. So the real 9 p.m. protocol is not a routine. It's a signal architecture. Close what's unresolved. Stabilize what's fluctuating. Define what's unclear. Do that consistently, and cortisol doesn't need to be lowered. It becomes unnecessary. And when it becomes unnecessary, it fades. Quietly, right on schedule. Exactly the way it was designed to. So tonight, don't try to force calm. Just close the loops, stabilize the signals, define the blur. What's still unresolved in your mind right now? Drop it below.